Hey, everybody. Today I have an extraordinary individual with me on the show, and I'm so excited. We've been really good friends for about 20 years, and today we're going to talk about a subject that is important to both of us. But before we get into that topic, I want to introduce him. He's a pastor. He spent 2 years under Bishop T.D. Jakes at the Potter's House, originally from Boston, spent a couple of years out in Colorado, and then came back. Currently, he's working at the World Overcomers Ministry under Pastor Andy Thompson, and he's also an entrepreneur. He's an author, released 2 books. His most recent book, Living for Legacy, released this year, which we're going to get into, motivational speaker and success coach. And I know him to be a family man. Without further ado, my friend Brian Bullock. What's going on, man?
Man, I finally made it to your show, man. We're on the big time now.
Yeah,
man.
you finally made it, man.
It's not Arsenio. This ain't Letterman. I'm on Stir Up the Pot. You know what I'm saying? With Dean, Les and us, man. This is what it's all about, dude. I love it. I love seeing you in this space, man. I think it's incredible.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate you taking the time. So before we get into the conversation, I just want to check on you, see how you're doing during the pandemic. How's the homeschooling thing going? I know your daughter, I believe your daughter just started school. How's that going?
Dude, I'm alive. I do not have COVID-19. Thank God.
Thank God
I'm
for
breathing.
that.
Let me tell you something, man. We're living in a day now where if you're breathing, if you're alive, you better be grateful. You better be thankful. So no complaints on that end. Quarantine, man, really revealed a lot of things. Good. It really put me in a position of reflection. I am determined to come out stronger than the way we went in. Home life is good, man. Got to see my daughter graduate. It's crazy, man. I was traveling so much before this pandemic. I was on a plane several times a week. And so there are some moments that I've been able to have with my children that I wasn't going to have had this pandemic not happened. And one of those is my daughter's graduation from pre-K and now going into kindergarten. And it's good, man. She's in a very, very cool school. Obviously, they're doing things virtually now. The homeschooling was not working for us. That's just not going to happen. Me and my wife were not. We learned very quickly. There's levels to this, okay?
There's levels, man.
You can complain about the teachers all you want until you become one, and then you realize that's why they pay y'all and not us. But they have a very good pre-K in this area. And so my daughter's been able to at least be around some other kids, social distancing, wearing masks, but they're able to get online together and do kindergarten. And good, man. Me and my wife are good. Kids are good. We're happy.
That's awesome, man. So coming out of this pandemic, I'm sure there's a lot of parents that are going to appreciate the work that teachers do in the classroom. And shout out to the parents who are toughing it out, who are, trying to do the homeschooling thing, juggling work, juggling the homeschooling thing, man. Godspeed.
Man, listen, it was like World War II in my house, man. I mean, kids, my wife, me, we just weren't designed to be around each other for 4 hours a day. That's insane. And, man, we were getting on their nerves. They were getting on our nerves. We all came together and said, we just need some space from one another. But it was beautiful. It was powerful. And it made you appreciate each other. It made you appreciate life. And you just realize man, especially the beginning of this year started with the death of Kobe Bryant. Obviously, we just saw the death of the amazing actor who played Black Panther. And we just seeing all these different things that are happening there. So even though we get on each other's nerve, we realize that we're all we have and that these are the moments that we ought to cherish and hold on to because we just never know what tomorrow's going to bring.
And that's awesome, man. So I'm in Boston. You're in North Carolina. You're originally from Boston. Dude, it's the fall. It's the sweater season. I'm loving it. What's the weather like in North Carolina? And do you miss the weather in Boston? That's the question.
Here's the deal, okay? This is going to be a weird answer. Here's the deal, okay? First of all, I'm in North Carolina. I live in the Raleigh-Durham area of North Carolina. And believe it or not, usually I've been here for 2.5 years now. And the time I've been here, it's only been hot. It's only been humid. This is the first time I've been here where it's fall outside right now. Like we're now it's in the 60s. There's no humidity. Since I've been here, it's either been Hades or hot or blazing. Like that's it. So the fact that I even have fall is amazing. But here's the deal. Here's what I miss about Boston weather. Be
careful now. Be careful.
I miss what Boston weather allowed me to do. Okay. I miss drinking hot chocolate. And I realized I can't really drink hot chocolate unless it's hot, unless it's cold outside. It's been too hot for me to drink hot chocolate. I miss, I miss kind of the Timbs and the hoodies and the triple fat goose. You know what I'm saying? We can't do that. I'm in T-shirts every day in North Carolina. I miss, the games we used to play outside. I don't necessarily miss the cold. Cold weather, y'all can have it. I don't need it. It's ridiculous. But I miss some of the things that surrounded cold weather. You know what I mean?
I hear you, man. Well, fall is my favorite season of the year. And, man, I want to go down there and maybe catch some of that weather sometime.
Dude, it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
All right, man, let's get into it. So in 2019, you put out a video that absolutely lit up social media. It's about maybe 1 million hits you got on this video. It was shared by athletes, by pastors, by different personalities. Let's take a quick look.
Legacy. There's power in your name. Power in your name. McDonald's is a last name. Abercrombie and Fitch, last names. Armani is a last name. Baskin Robbins is a last name. Chrysler is a last name. Fisher Price, Gucci, Hennessy, Harley Davidson, Hilton, Honda, Kohl's, Kraft Foods, Lowe's Movie Theater, Marriott is a last name. Maybach is a last name. Nordstrom is a last name. Pillsbury is a last name. Porsche is a last name. Procter & Gamble, 2 last names. Rolls-Royce, Charles Rolls, Henry Royce, last names. Turner Broadcast System, Ted Turner, last name. Versace, last name. Wells Fargo, Henry Wells, William Fargo, last name. Walgreens, last name. Wrigley's, last name. Welch's Grape Juice, last name. Here you are, you think you're buying a product. You are not buying a product, you're buying a name. You think you're wearing a product. Hey, look at this product. No, you're saying, look at this family. And what you don't know is while you making every family rich, you making yourself broke. So you done went to one family called Wells Fargo and got $200,000 so you can go to another family called Rolls Royce so you can give them money to get yourself a car so you can go back to the hood and see the Joneses and say, look at what I got. Meanwhile, Wells Fargo, their family's sitting up being rich, and Harley Davidsons and Rolls Royce are being rich, and the Joneses are sitting there holding up people's stuff saying, look at what we did and we broke. What if I told you that your blessing is attached to your name? That part of the reason why you're not wealthy yet is because you keep trying to make Yolanda wealthy. You keep trying to make Tasha wealthy. What if you made Johnson's wealthy? What if you started thinking about your kids? What if you started thinking about your legacy? What if God started dropping Canaan and opening up windows of heaven? Because now you're not just thinking about you, you're thinking kingdom. There are some people who are attached to you who saying, Mama, can you do something with this name? There's some people who are saying, Dad, can you do something with this name? Maybe God gave you the name to change and reverse some of the stuff that the name meant one day. I wish there was somebody in this room that say my name might mean one thing right now, but I promise after today, this name's getting ready to change. I promise after today, everybody's gonna want my last name. I'm here to let you know you are a curse breaker. You're thinking kingdom.
All right, man. So tell me about the impact of this video, like the impact that it had on the world, and why you think it connected with so many people.
Yeah, man. The video's it's crazy because it went viral in 2019 on Instagram. Like I said, man, like you already read, so many people were sharing it. People were talking about it. It was discussed. It actually got re-released through the largest motivational channel on YouTube called Motiversity this year. And when they put the clip out this year, it went viral on TikTok with over 4 million views right now on TikTok, on that Motiversity channel. And I think why it resonates is because we all have become victim to this ideology that I gotta buy the next latest thing. I gotta purchase that. I gotta look a certain way. And we realize that we are building up everybody's empire. We realize that we're building up everybody's name. And man, we're getting to a point now where we're realizing we're not doing anything for our name. And I think that we got to get back to making sure that your name matters. Right now, I'm wearing a hoodie that has my logo on it because I'm determined to have value in my name. Jesus said it this way. He says, let your light shine before men that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father who's in heaven. It's the idea that even Christ is like, dude, let your light shine, like shine, be bright. And I think so many people have dimmed their light in order to capitulate to society or fit in. And I'm trying to get people back to a point where they're saying, look, I'm so glad that you know about the celebrity's legacy. I'm so glad you know about that politician's legacy. I'm so glad you know about the latest athlete's legacy, but please don't tell me more about Kanye's legacy than yours. Don't tell me you know more about LeBron's legacy than yours. And you've got to get to a place where you recognize that my name matters, my life matters, and my voice matters.
So, it's interesting, man, because this message that you're pushing about making your last name bigger than your first name, really at the heart of this message is this idea of making investments in our families, investments in our communities, and investments in ourselves. It's estimated that the Black buying power stands at about $1.5 trillion in 2020. And that means about $1.5 trillion is passing through the Black community. The question is, though, where is that money going? They say that less than 3% of that money stays in the Black community, and that if maybe 10% of that money was redirected, we can create 1 million jobs that would be centered in and around communities of color. Which brings me to my next point, which I'm going to have Dame Dash help me make. Let's take a look. That we just watched with Dame Dash is a conversation that happened in 2015. In 2020, it sort of reemerged because of a feud between Joe Budden and Charlamagne the God. Essentially, the feud was that over the summer, Joe Budden announced that he's not renewing his contract with Spotify. And Charlamagne criticized him, saying that the reason why he's not renewing his contract is because of his failure to negotiate. Joe Budden came back in a long response and essentially told Charlamagne the God that he wouldn't understand because he doesn't own anything. He actually works for iHeartRadio, which is the owner of The Breakfast Club. And he used Dame Dash to make this point. This conversation about ownership, we hear Dame Dash making it. We've heard Joe Budden make it. We've heard Kanye just had a riff about it. We've heard Jay-Z, Puffy, all of these guys. What is it about this message that they are seeing that we're not seeing?
I think it's about controlling your own destiny and no longer being a victim to someone else's emotions or someone else's view of you. They say when you get a salary from a job, somebody said, well, I'm worth more than that. Well, of course you are worth more than that. They're not paying you what you're worth. They can only pay you what they have. And you're probably worth more than what they have. And so you have to be responsible for getting to your worth. You're more than minimum wage. I don't care if you work at McDonald's or Burger King. If they decided that they can only pay you minimum wage, well, that's how much they can pay you. That's not how much you're worth. And we've got to get you to a place where you recognize how much you're worth. I believe this, Gene, with all my heart. And many people debate me on this. I don't care. They've been wrong before. I believe that everybody has $1 million gift. I believe that everybody has a gift that they are sitting on, that if put in the right environment, in the right circumstance, in the right situation, they can make money from. I recently talked about Tyler Perry and how Tyler Perry just made the Forbes list as a billionaire in America. Well, Tyler Perry became a billionaire off of one idea, Was it rocket science? Was he an engineer? Was he an astronaut? Did he come up with the newest invention? No. Madea. That's what Tyler Perry
Madea, man.
just made $1 billion
But
saying,
he gets
I'm
so
going
much
to be.
hate. Tyler Perry gets so much hate off of Madea.
Exactly, right? That's my point. People hate Madea. People hate on Madea. Some people don't even know Madea. But Tyler Perry tapped into this thing. I can sound just like my grandmama. I can sound just like my Madea. And because of that, I'm going to tap into it. I'm going to do it despite the criticism. And what ends up happening, he makes $1 billion. And so I believe that everyone is put into the earth by the grace of God with a gift. And it is your responsibility to steward your gift. And I think we have put that responsibility on our employer, or we put that responsibility on the government, or we put that responsibility on some organization. And we're saying, nope, you got to put that responsibility back on you. I'm not saying that everybody needs to be quit their 9 to 5, but I am saying is that everyone's got to do something beyond your 9 to 5. There is something beyond the 9 to 5 that you're called to do. Every adult needs a side hustle. Every adult needs a product. Every adult should have something that they own because of this. When you own it, you value it. When you own it, now you can be creative. Now you can share it with the world. And I think it's an important message because this is where we start talking about legacy. When I wrote my book, Living for Legacy, my name is Brian Bullock. My son's name is Brian Bullock. When I wrote the book and we got the print, I pulled my son to the side. I said, "Who wrote this book?" He said, "Brian." He said, "Daddy, you wrote the book." I said, "Brian Bullock. What name's on this?" He said, "Brian Bullock." I said, "Brian Bullock wrote this book. When Daddy's gone, you will sell this book. This book got our name on it. This book don't got my name on it.
That's awesome.
This book got our name on it. So you just take my picture off, put your picture. You sell this book when I'm done because we own this. That's why I self-publish, because I wanted to give my book to my son so that he can sell it when I'm gone. And
That's
so
awesome.
I do think it's a powerful thing, and this is how legacy is created.
You know, that's one of the things that you see in that video with Dame Dash. And his question to Envy in that conversation was, you know, could you pass on this show, The Breakfast Club, to, you know, like your son? Like could you just give it to your family? If you wanted to hire anybody in your family, could you just hire anybody in your family at will? And, you know, he had to admit that, no, I can't because I don't own it. And, you know, what he was essentially, the point he was making was what you just said, was being able to not only control your destiny, right, but being able to make decisions that help control other people's destiny, right? And so, like, you know, the thing that I appreciate, even though the message was delivered in a sort of brash way, you know, folks criticized Dame Dash about, you know, him being rude, but I think the principle resonated with me. The idea that I can take something that, and not only hand it to somebody in my family, or, you know, help to sort of make legacy, create legacy for future generations. But I think the other point that he was making that I don't necessarily think he made in that video, but I think relates, is the ability, you know, to have control over the message that you put out. Recently,
Exactly.
It was Nick Cannon who got censored by Viacom because of some comments he made, you know, that were considered anti-Semitic. Interesting how many anti-Semitic comments you hear made, but there was something about the fact that he didn't own it. He didn't own the platform. That somebody who just disagreed with what he said can just say, you know what, I'm censoring this. I don't want this to move forward. And, you know, like, people, I've seen movie stars and people of power make comments, not necessarily about you know, anti-Semitic comments, but comments about all kinds of things that are considered, you know, incendiary. And they don't get censored because they either own the platform or they have enough power where, you know, they know the people who own the platform. And so part of this is about being able to have a message, to be able to put it out and not necessarily the consequences of somebody censoring you, right?
Exactly. It's funny, man, because I remember when I was in college, a woman came up to me, an older lady, and she said, "You need to learn how to play golf." And I said, I don't want to play no golf. I don't care about golf, you know. She said, "No, you need to learn how to play golf." And she said, no, you got to learn how to play golf. And I said, golf is terrible. She said, you think that people play golf because golf is a great sport? She said, that's not why people play golf. She said, people play golf because there are more jobs that are given out on a golf course than anywhere else in America. And when she said that, it blew me away. She was saying every job that you are putting an application out for, and you're putting your resume out for, she said that that job has already been discussed on a golf course by the owner and a friend who's giving it to his crazy drunk nephew.
That's good.
So now his nephew, who's sitting on a couch eating cheese puffs, is getting a job. You're in school busting your butt and getting this degree and accumulating all this debt. But what you realize is that the person who owns it gets to now give it to whom they want. And when you are in the circle with the owners, then you're going to be shut out of society. And so what we have to do is we have to get you to a place where you recognize yourself as an owner of something. It's part of the reason why, man, I chose to live a debt-free lifestyle, because I read a scripture in Psalms 128 that said, blessed is the man who fears the Lord, who walks in his ways. Blessing and prosperity will be his. And it says that he shall eat the fruit of his labor. And when I read those words, I realized that I wasn't eating the fruit of my labor. Best Buy was eating the fruit of my labor. My landlord was eating the fruit of my labor. Capital One was eating the fruit of my labor. And so I realized that I was working, but the check wasn't mine. The check belonged to all the different people.
That's so good. That's
so
good.
So I decided I'm gonna live a debt-free lifestyle so that when I get a check, it's my check. I don't owe nobody nothing.
Owe nobody nothing.
And because of that, I get to choose to put my kids in the school that I want to put them in. I get to choose to go on vacation when I want to. I get to choose. I don't have stress when it comes to money because I don't have no debt. I don't owe nobody nothing. And I think that that's the mentality that we have to have, especially as a culture, if we want to move forward.
You know, it's interesting that this message of ownership is not a new message. You know, something that many people have talked about. But there's something about 2020, and I just want to I want your opinion on it, how you see it. What is it about 2020 that seems to be that folks seem to be latching on and grasping this message and hearing it in a way that maybe they hadn't heard it before?
Because I think that we realizing that we were lied to. They lied to us, G.
They lied to us.
They lied. We realized it was we all was marching in 2008 when we decided Barack Obama was going to be the president, put him in a second term. Then was like the other side, here comes Trump, and we realized they lied to us. We all went and got all these degrees. We done went and did all this stuff only to realize that we were lied to. We got all this debt. We have all these student loans, and we still live with our parents. We have all these degrees and still can't find a job. We have all this social media and still feel disconnected and still feel separated. We did all this voting and we realized that a police officer can still see a black man in the street and shoot him and no one will say anything or do anything about it. And so I think people are resonating now. Like, I can't just buy into what CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News are saying to me. I can't just buy into what I'm scrolling and seeing on social media. I've got to take control of my life because no one's coming to save me, man. That's the thing. No one's coming. No one's coming to save us. No one's coming to hand us no money. No one's coming to give us no mansion. No one's doing that stuff. And so that's why I wrote this book, Living for Legacy, because I'm saying, hey, I'm telling you, G, I'm amazed at how many people between the ages of 24 and 36 who don't have a plan, who have no clue what they are doing. They live in what I call the realm of randomness. They're dating random people, doing random stuff, going to random places with no plan. And their hope is that one day out of nowhere, stuff is going to come into play for them. And it's not. And so we've got to take responsibility for our lives, because if we don't, we're going to look up and we're going to see ourselves old, broke, and sad. So we
That's
gotta
good.
we gotta
That's
step
real
up. We
good.
gotta do something about it.
That's good, man. That's awesome. So my third question to you is, on your social media, I think it was yesterday or the day before, you posted a video titled "Legacy Blockers," and the question that you had underneath in the comment section was, you said, excuse me, you said, what is blocking? Who is blocking you from your legacy? And so my question to you is, what is a legacy blocker, and why are these obstacles so hard to overcome?
Well, a legacy blocker is anything that's preventing you from, as Jesus said, let your light shine, right? Anything that's stopping you from making your mark. A legacy is something you pass down. It is your mark on the earth. It is your imprint in the world. It is your voice and your life being like a trumpet, that you are here. And let me just say this real quick. There are many people who are even listening to this podcast who don't feel heard, who don't feel recognized. 85% of the world's population struggles with low self-esteem.
Say that again. One more time.
85% of the world's
5%.
population, the world,
Wow.
not just America,
Wow.
the world's population struggles with low self-esteem. Someone commits suicide every 12 minutes here in the United States. 16.2 million Americans, adult Americans, will have a major depressive episode in any given year. And so what we have to recognize is that there are people who are feeling lost, unheard. Think about it, Gene. 100 million people will not vote this year. 100 million people who are eligible to vote won't. And many of those people won't because they don't feel like their vote even counts. And so we've got to get people to a position where they recognize, no, your voice matters. Your life matters. You are here for a reason. But what happens, the Bible says this, Jesus says that I came that you might have life and have life to the full and more abundantly. But there is a thief who comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And I think that the thief wraps himself in many little thieves, right? So procrastination is a thief of legacy. Comparison is a thief of legacy. Selfishness is a thief of legacy. Depression is a thief of legacy. And I think that it is our responsibility to combat that with the right stuff, with saying, no, I can make a difference. I can become something. But I find, man, Martin Luther King said these words, and I'm going to paraphrase. He said that when he studied in Morehouse, he said his professors placed a crown on their heads so large that they would spend the rest of their lives trying to fit into it. And what I'm trying to do is put a crown on people's heads so large.
Good. That's real good, man.
Spend the rest of their lives trying to fit into it. I want to put a crown of I want you to say, you know what? I can be a mother. I can be a wife. I can be a husband. Wait a minute. I can open up a business. I can start a church. Wait, I can start a movement. You and I know my little brother. My little brother, Tori, just created a movement through social media to get a statue that was placed in downtown Boston, taken down, that had been there for years. Kind of taken down. Why? Because one dude decided, wait a minute, I have the power to do something. And when you have a crown on your head that you want to fit into, you don't have time to mess with depression. You don't have time to be dealing with procrastination. You don't have time to be dealing with selfishness because you got something to do. You got something you're trying to get done. And that's why I believe this message of legacy is so important. And that's what I think is different about 2020.
That's awesome, man. That's a great answer to the question. So one of the questions, kind of a follow-up, so how do we eliminate some of these legacy blockers that impede our progress?
Whew, Jesus. I think the first thing you have to do is, man, if there was ever one thing I need everybody to do, this would be the thing, okay? Have a vision. The Bible says without a vision, people perish. People die. Another version says that they cast off restraints. When you don't have anything to look forward to, you have no reason to fight. But when you have something to look forward to, every day becomes a day of opportunity and excitement. And I need people to, one of the first things I tell people to do is plan your day. Just plan your day. Let's just start there. Plan your day. Instead of waking up tomorrow and see, I can't stand this phrase when people say, I like to see where the day leads me. No, don't let the day lead you. The day might lead you into somewhere crazy. The day might lead you into some spooky spot. No, you lead your day. You tell your day what we gonna do. Day, this is what we're gonna do. There's a scripture that says, this is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice. You're gonna tell yourself what we're gonna do today. And then I tell people, man, have a 1-year plan. Have a 5-year plan. I'm at a place in my life, Gene, where I have a 20-year plan. I am 37. I know what I want to be by 57. And everything I'm doing now, I would say 95% of the things I'm doing right now, I saw this 5 years ago. Everything I'm doing in my life right now, nothing I'm doing is overtly like just so surprising. Like, I can't believe did something shock me? Yes. But 95% of the things I'm doing, I had planned to do 5 years ago. And what ends up happening is Stephen Covey wrote a book, and he said, start with the end in mind. If we can get you to start with the end and then work your way back, now every day has a different feeling. Every day has a different vibe. And I think that you got to start there. And then the second thing I'll say is your community. Who are you surrounded by? I know it's cliche. Everybody says it. Who's in your circle? Show me your friends. I'll show you your future. But it's real. Like, it's real. Like, it is what it is. If you actually show me your friend, we can actually determine a lot about your future by who you hang with. And I find that too many grown people are afraid to cut ties with people. Gene, you're probably at this point my longest relationship. And it's because you and I have committed to growing together, right?
Absolutely.
We grow together. In other words, you and I, we don't live in the same state anymore. We haven't gone to the same church in years. We haven't been in the same school in years. But our friendship remains because the things you're committed to in your areas of life of growth, I'm committed to in my areas of life of growth. So our friendship naturally just sustains itself. And I think that you got to surround yourself with people, man, who just want to grow, who want to go somewhere. It is infectious, because the same is true of people who don't want to go nowhere. Dragging your old buddy is ridiculous. It's insane. And you got to shore that up in this day we're living in.
Yeah, man. So I was watching a Steve Harvey video the other day, and he talked about how, don't be fooled. All of these folks out here who are experiencing great success, all these big names, all of them have a vision. All of them have written it down. None of them are leaving their futures by chance. And so, or up to chance. So, he really emphasized the importance of making sure that not only should you have a vision, but you should be writing it down, and that you should be intentional about moving forward and taking those steps forward. So that was a great message about how to overcome those things that impede your progress or tend to impede our progress. So before we wrap it up, B, I want you to talk about, where can the viewers find you? How can they find your book?
You can find me. I'm on Instagram every day. I'm on Instagram at Brian M. Bullock. You can go and get the book from my website, brianmbullock.com. There's a free resource on there. I'm going to give you 7 steps on how to change your life instantly. And you can get that for free. You can download that PDF. You can order the book. In the next 2 weeks of this recording, I will be releasing a Legacy University, right? Awesome. Series of e-courses. So I'm dropping a Legacy e-course, which is going to help people create their own legacy blueprint. It's going to help you figure out that 20-year vision, your core values, find out who's your who, what's your why. It's going to help you actually come up with a blueprint for you that by the time you're done, your family will be able to see it. Your spouse, your kids, everyone's going to know your legacy blueprint. I'm also releasing an e-course called Legacy Writers, where I'm helping people write their first book. So anyone who wants to be a first-time author, I believe that's legacy. And so I have an e-course that's going to show you how to do that. And then I have another e-course called Legacy Speakers. I'm going to show you how I went from preaching at a small Baptist church to traveling the world. And I have.
And by the way, I've personally seen this guy preach at behind the pulpit of a small Baptist church.
Small Baptist
50
church.
people.
About
Preaching to thousands.
50, about 50
awesome,
people in a tight, hot basement
Yep.
with about 10 kids. And so we did it then. And so I'm going to teach you all that. I call it Legacy University, but all the 3 e-courses are there. BrianMBullock.com.
That's awesome. So all of the socials are going to be on the page. I invite you to check Brian out. Hey, if this show inspired you, if this show connected with you, man, like and subscribe, share it with your friends. We appreciate you tuning in. And B, dude, thank you very much. Thanks for coming on the show, man. I hope somebody today was inspired.
You did great, man. This is awesome, dude. This is amazing. Let's go.
Thank you, brother. Let's go.
All right, man.